So since I did Minori Dreamers a while ago, today's will be Trinoline. I finished it pretty recently, maybe not now after I'm uploading, and boy, I don't know what they were going for. So Minori made this one, and you probably heard them because they made Ever Forever, or EF Tale of something, I forget what it's called. It had an anime and I remember liking it, but I don't remember anything past Chihiro. But how it ended in the VN was great, and it's something I'd recommend even though some of the routes aren't really all that good. They also made Eden. I'm pretty sure I wrote about that before. I think it's kind of a hit or miss for some people. I liked it, but it was already leading to some kind of issues that I'm having with Trinoline. And it's that the art, voice acting, soundtrack are top notch, even though it performs like shit sometimes. Yet somehow they forget about the plot, and how the plot and the tone leaves so much to be desired sometimes. It's not that the plot concept itself is boring, it's just the tone and how it tells it is fucking boring to me. And while generally the routes have different plots to each character, they generally always share either like the same mood or theme, if the plot is the main focus of the title. Especially when it's considered if it's like one of those crying VNs, something that Trinoline is somehow tagged in VNDB. And usually that'd be the mood for the whole VN, but somehow it's also tagged as a Nutsuge, which is like the depressing one. You can't have both, but it is, because each route has its own thing. And I'm not even blaming them, because they're kinda right, just that the real answer should have been more of a big drama tag that Manga Gamer uses. Because Trinoline just doesn't know what it wants to be, and does something else in each route, while keeping a thin line to connect between them all, which I'll talk about later in the spoiler section. So the VN has 3 routes, and one is locked until the first 2 are finished. It technically should be fine with just Shirone's route, but it's clear if you coupled it with Yuri. But the problem is the last route doesn't really use it for its own benefit. This is no EF, this is no Key, this is no Symphonic Rain. Yuri is the friendly one. She's outgoing and has this demanding demeanor half the time. I liked her route, but it was easily the most toxic of the 3. Shirone is the cute, more docile one that's like the android with the memories of the protag's dead sister. And Sarah is the most cold-hearted logical one that cares for the protag but is kind of too dumb to notice. The common route is pretty lengthy. It's to the point where you could have that as an ending. I had the 18+ patch added. There's parts I'd consider neat, but it's so much to the point I just had porn fatigue. It could have been reduced to like half or maybe 3/4, and I'd see it as a better experience. Anyways, like I said before, the soundtrack is great. It honestly didn't need that many tracks. I think it has like 40. Though some of these porn tracks are really weird. Some of them feel like I'm in a horror show or like a planetarium sometimes, depending on what it is. The art is great, but when they try to move the sprites to emulate movement, it runs like shit. I thought it was just me, and maybe with my 1080 it was like, for some reason it wasn't powerful enough, but apparently that's not the case and it's happening to everybody. Or at least the 5 people I talked to, I don't know. I give this a 6, and that's because it has strong moments, it has good scenes, but honestly I can understand if someone just gives it a 5 because it's not doing much with it. It's the weakest of the 3 Minori novels I've read, even though it has potential. If it was just Yuri or Shirone alone, I could see giving it like a high 7, especially for Shirone's. Yeah, it has moments, and both Shirone and Yuri have pretty solid endings for their specific genres. And Sarah was something. I wasn't impressed, but maybe I would have been if this was like the early 2000s. But the novel just feels off, that there should have been more to it. So I looked up a walkthrough to see if maybe there's a hidden 4th route I missed, and there isn't. It really needed one because, like I said before, it had potential. And I could see giving it a 7 or 8 if it had the extra route, even if it was only like 2 or 3 hours long. There is a fan disc. I'm not sure if it's the usual just fan service stuff or actually a plot continuation, because I've seen a few of them and they're actually pretty okay. This title is a good example of those movies where, oh, it ended strong, so yeah, I liked it, I enjoyed it. But honestly, you have to consider the shitty parts. But that's also why my VN stat says my score is normally lower by like a point or 2. So this is a spoiler section. A notation should have happened. So like I said before, Trinoline doesn't really know what they're going for. There's somewhat of a central theme that androids can't replace humanity, even though it almost did in the 3rd route. It's more pointed that androids can't replace a social interaction ambition that humans have because they come from different backgrounds and have different lifespans. It's portrayed in Yuri's route, where the android version of Yuri just answers the way that Shun wants to hear. In Shirone's route, it's that Shun is scared to also being part of the Trinoline system, since it'd give them all the time in the world for both of them, and thus both of them can be together whenever, so they're just gonna drift apart. It also shows that someone with the Trinoline can skirt the 3 rules that they're given with and create all these loopholes to do the stuff that they'd normally not be able to do. In Sarah's route, it's a continuation of the second point of Shirone, but also that the AI kind of treats humanity as pets, as creatures that are more of a danger to themselves than anything else. It's a battle of wills between humanity and the supreme AI that was created, but it's nothing new. It's a 2017 VN that has a plot of something I've seen from the 90s, or even like a lackluster version of some literature I read that's much older than that. And these concepts are cool, if there was an extra component to it that makes it feel fresh, but it didn't. It's all loosely connected, but it's there. The main issue I have outside of that each route has a different tone. Yuri is a crying drama. Shirone is one of those depressing ones that everybody always has a bad ending drama. And Sarah is a mix of this corporate life scenario and also the usual, oh, here's this anti-social girl, let's make her more normal and appreciate life. A lot of the drama stems from poor communication, and that's kind of intentional, hopefully, since the whole humanity versus AI thing can be seen as just both sides not coming together and listening. That doesn't mean it doesn't get annoying, or that a lot of these characters are just toxic. Like in Yuri's route, the protag Shun is leaning towards being with this AI instead of Yuri, because Yuri is having a really hard time with her illness, to the point that she's becoming distant and avoids him even though she wants to talk to him all the time. And that's toxic, but considering how the route starts with Yuri lying to him about going out because he has amnesia and doesn't know anything, it's like, hey, you don't know shit, now we're going out. Shirone almost kills herself like twice or 3 times in the damn story, and runs away when the plan for the protag to also join the Trinoline system falls flat because he just changes his mind. And that's understandable because it was his idea to begin with, but during all these brain scans, the frequency gets him terminally ill and will die in a few weeks, but still rather just stay human, because the whole process was like, well, if I remove myself from being human, just becoming another AI, we're not gonna be together, but I'm gonna die now and we're still not gonna be together, but fuck you, later. And in Sarah's route, the protag is doing the brain scan thing again. They're different timelines, so don't think about it. So she's using him as a guinea pig, even though they're going out and she knows about it. She feels bad, but she just continues on going because like, no, science is my shit. And that's not awful because he's also into it. And to close it off, there should have been a 4th route where it continues Shirone's ending. Hell, it could even lead to another bad ending. But I think it'd be interesting just to go through it. To see her circumventing the rules more and more to get her way, while also avoiding suspicion from Sarah and the corporation altogether. To maybe destroying her promise to still bring Shun back. Or even to circumvent that and use the scans when he was a child just to bypass her promise anyway. Just something interesting. All in all, it had everything going for it, except for the plot. Hell, if they just focus on Shirone and have it so that Shun just was going to die on the first injury anyway, instead of having all this new brain scan stuff. So then Shirone has to face the shitty situation that she was placed in, right? Then either accepts it and goes further down the line of the actual main plot, where she's just constantly going through loopholes to do what she can to bring him back, or just do from the start and just handle her own systems to save Shun, even though it would just have a huge cost on the others. Like at the point where androids just became really scary in the general public view, and now they're like, oh, they have their own sentience, and they have to get discontinued. And they're like, well, this is the whole classic trolley problem again. And it'd be interesting. And it's like, it's to the point where, you know, Shirone will feel fine on what she's doing and she'll fix what she can because that's like what matters most to her. But what you get is this random ass plot. All I'll take away from this is like the music are still bangers. I'll put some after the OP. And as a bonus of it's pretty fucking stupid, I'll take away the OP soundtrack and just put the Hscene soundtrack in there, where it just sounded like I was freaking a horror movie, and it's like, what is this crap?